Hey, good morning, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope all of you would be absolutely fit and fine, safe and healthy. Okay, so in this video, we are going to talk about Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, so this is the topic of this video today. Elastic Beanstalk is another AWS service which is used to deploy web services, websites, or app services itself. Okay, so that is in short the purpose of Elastic Beanstalk itself. Okay, so any kind of web application, app services, or the websites you might have developed in the all the preferred languages like .NET, PHP, Python, Java, Go language. Okay, so even the microservices, if you have developed all those API project itself. Okay, all these kind of steps can be deployed on AWS environment with the help of Elastic Beanstalk service itself. Okay, so that is the core feature of Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, let us understand this in very detail. Okay, so with definition, AWS Elastic Beanstalk is an AWS service used to deploy web application, as I told, and web services or app services in a scalable manner on AWS environment. Okay, so whatever app services or the API or the website or the web application we are going to deploy in AWS environment, that is true in the a scalable manner. Scalable manner means it will manage the scalability of the application automatically on itself. Okay, like all kind of traffic management, even in case of more traffic or the peak traffic. Okay, AWS Elastic Beans will automatically scale up itself. Okay, and when the traffic goes down, it will scale down itself, the underlying resources. Okay, so that is the meaning of a scalability itself. Okay, what we have to do, we only have to upload our code to Elastic Beanstalk, and then it will keep the services on the app service up and running on its environment itself. Okay, and all the administrative tasks like managing the backend infrastructure, backend resources, the health monitoring, whether the underlying resources are working fine or not. Okay, all the and their capacity provisioning, like what kind of is EC2 instance. Okay, what capacity of resources you require. Okay, all those things have been managed by Elastic Beans itself in the background. Okay, so what happens in the background when we deploy our code with app services or Elastic Beanstalk itself? Okay, what Elastic Beanstalk does, it provisions an EC2 instance of server itself in the background. Okay, and that the server, the capacity and the nature of the server is very much compatible to the language in which you have written your app service itself. Okay, like if you have written the your application or you the app service in the .NET Core or the .NET itself, then it will provision the EC2 server in the background that is compatible, that can run your code. Okay, that can run your application itself. Okay, if it is in PHP, then it will configure the respective environment in the background itself. Okay, and automatically decides and provisions the capacity also. Okay, what capacity will be required for your application itself. Okay, so all those things have been managed by Elastic Beans itself. That is in background itself. Okay, these many languages it is going to support, like .NET, PHP, Python, Java, Node.js, Ruby, Go, Docker itself. In the background, it provisions the EC2 instance. Yes, as I told, like we get a console. Okay, our UI management console of Elastic Beans on the AWS login itself. Okay, from where we configure that and we upload our code, the app code is itself. Okay, and in the background, Elastic Beanstalk configures and creates the server. Okay, EC2 instance server in the background, and it deploys your code into that. Okay, and it also manages the load balancing itself. Okay, load balancing and all the capacity provisioning. Okay, all those things will be managed by AWS Elastic Beans itself in the background itself. Okay, so that was a brief about AWS Elastic Beans itself. I understand it may be slightly difficult to understand as of now at this point. But once we will go on the practical session, all these points will be cleared automatically. Okay, so no need to worry about that at this time itself. Just understand the core concept. So, difference between what is the difference between the Elastic Beanstalk and EC2 instance? So, what is EC2 instance? We already have studied in the previous video itself. EC2 instance is another service which provides us the feature to create virtual server or the machine on AWS environment. Okay, so with EC2 instance, what we can do, we can create a server, whether it is Windows server or Linux server or Ubuntu server, we can create a server. Okay, and what we can do, we can set up the server in order to run our application, okay, manually. Okay, like what you do, like on premise, you configure a computer, okay, and you all install all your dependent software that is needed to run your application itself in that computer itself, okay. And then after you are able to run your application, whatever application or the utility you have written, that will be running on the on-premise physical system itself, okay. In the same way, with EC2 instance, what we can do, we can create a server, okay, whether it is Windows or the Linux or the Ubuntu server. After that, if we have an application or the web application, what we have to do, we will have to install all the necessary software dependencies in order to run our web application, okay. So with EC2 instance, all the process are manual, okay. All the setup, server setup, dependency installation, and everything is manual, okay. But with Elastic Beans, what happens? From the console itself, Elastic Beans management console itself, what we only deploy our code, okay, and EC2 automatically configures the Elastic Beans automatically configures the EC2 instance, okay, in the background itself, okay. So it is completely a managed service, okay. In EC2 that is not managed, okay. Everything we have to do at ourselves. Even the server setup, if it is .NET or .NET Core, we have to set up the IaaS environment. We have to set up all the, if our application requires the database MS SQL server, okay, or MySQL server, in that case, we will have to install the database server also on the machine, okay. All the setup we have to do itself. But with Elastic Beans itself, from the console itself, you need to define, like whether you need the database or you need which kind of language you have written in which language you have written your web application. Accordingly, EC2 Elastic Beans itself automatically configures the required EC2 machine and automatically configures all the capacity, okay, for your application to run. Okay, so AWS Elastic Beans is a managed service and EC2 instance is not managed. Okay, we ourselves have to manage that as per our requirement. Okay, that is the primary difference. Okay? And wherein if we are manually going to deploy our application on EC2 instance itself, in that case, all the administrative burden like auto scaling, health monitoring, okay, capacity provisioning, all we will have to do at ourselves. Okay, it's all manual job. But with AWS Elastic Beans, it is all being managed by Elastic Beans itself. Only we have to do some initial configuration on the console itself. Then it's good to go. Okay. So that's the basic difference. So the managed and unmanaged, that's the primary difference between EC2 instance and the Elastic Beanstalk. There is another server that is a serverless category, that is AWS Lambda. That is also used to run a small code, okay, like any kind of small utility or script if you have written on any language like Python, .NET or Java, okay. So with AWS Lambda also you can run your code, okay, and with AWS Lambda also you can develop some kind of a small API or REST API project itself, okay, with the conjunction of API gateway, and it is also serverless, okay. But being serverless, it also configures the EC2 instances. It also consumes some resources in the background. Okay, but the difference is we don't have access to those resources. Okay, and it is serverless. Serverless means like we don't have to access to the server. Serverless service means it doesn't mean that there is no server in the background, but the servers are being configured in the background, okay, and it is the underlying resources itself, and we don't have completely any access to those services, and it is being configured and provisioned on demand, okay. Like when our application code or the script is running on its environment, during that period only those resources are being used. Once the job is completed, okay, all those resources which have been configured in the background, they are being deprovisioned itself, okay, they are not no more being used itself, okay. And in that case, AWS is going to charge us for those resources only for the duration our application or the script is using those resources, okay. So it is completely pay per use model, okay. And in that case, it is very cost effective in that way also. But what is the difference between Elastic Beans and AWS Lambda? So Elastic Beans is used to deploy a complete full-fledged websites or the web server or the application server itself, okay, on itself. But with AWS Lambda, that is used to do some small kind of background running jobs or some kind of API project, the microservices itself, okay. But is it with AWS Elastic Beans, it configures the servers in the background, okay, and we can have the access to the server. We can RDP, we can remote desktop into the server that has been configured with the core Elastic Beans itself, okay. But with AWS Lambda, we don't have access to any backend resource, okay, where in which server, in which resource our application is running itself, okay. We don't have any concern, and even we don't have any access to that, okay. So that in that case, it is called serverless itself, serverless, okay. And and that is also AWS Lambda is also a managed service. Even being serverless, it is a managed service, okay. And it all been configured and designed from the AWS Lambda console itself, okay. So if you need to understand about AWS Lambda in detail, okay, I have a separate playlist of AWS Lambda. I will put the link of that playlist in the description of this video. You can go through that, and we have all the practical videos in that playlist itself, so you can watch and understand about AWS Lambda in very much detail. But in this video, we are talking about AWS Elastic Beans itself. Okay, I was just giving a very small and brief understanding about AWS Lambda. Okay, but the primary topic of this video is AWS Elastic Beans. Okay, so let us move forward. Yeah, there are two types of applications we can deploy on AWS Elastic Beans itself. The first one is the worker environment. Okay, so any application we are going to deploy on, the first thing, any application we are going to deploy on AWS Elastic Bean, that is called an environment. Okay, so we can create environment. Okay, that is the terminology you need to understand. So two type of environment we can create. The first one is the worker environment, and second one is the web environment. Okay, worker environment is used to deploy such kind of application, which is a kind of background job or the background tasks or scheduled job in the nature. Okay, let us understand we have to run a task in the background. Okay, that is doing some data segregation. Okay, data transformation, data extraction, this kind of, and data sorting itself. Okay, all these kinds of background tasks, a background utility if we have written. So all those kinds of tasks we can deploy with AWS Elastic Beans in the worker environment itself. Okay, which doesn't require any front-end UI itself. Okay, so that is one. Second one is the web environment. Used to deploy web application like apps, web API projects, which serves the HTTP or HTTP request from the browser itself. Okay, just ignore this, it's a spelling mistake here. Okay, and or integrated with the client apps like a static website developed in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, .NET, Java, and Python itself. So any kind of REST API project, web API project, any particular website also, which have a complete UI on the front end that can be launched in the browser itself. Okay, and any application that can be requested, that can be accessed through the HTTP or HTTPS protocol on the browser. Okay, so all that kind of applications we can host through the web environment. Okay, So whenever we are creating Elastic Beans service, Elastic Bean environment on AWS console, we need an IAM role, okay, and that IAM role needs these many kind access itself, okay, like AWS Elastic Beanstalk web tier. If we are going to deploy a web environment, okay, the second one, then this Elastic Beanstalk web tier role permission would be required. A role with this permission would be required, okay. Even also with the web environment, there are two options, okay, with container mode and without container mode. If we are going to deploy with containerized application, in that case, the permission, the role which we are selecting, that should have this permission itself, AWS Elastic Beanstalk multi-container Docker, okay, so that access it should have, okay. And if we are going to deploy the first nature of environment, like worker environment, in that case, this AWS Elastic Beanstalk worker tier, that permission should be required with the role we are going to select. Okay, so all these three roles are required for deploying the Elastic Beans environment. That is respective to the environment type we are going to select. Okay, so that we will see in the demonstration also. Okay, so that is the theoretical understanding about AWS Elastic Beans. Okay. I hope you got it about that. So once if you have any doubt, once we will jump into the practical, you will understand all these points very clearly. Okay. So we are going to execute a practical session where we will create an environment, a demo environment on AWS Elastic Beans. Okay, and we'll try to deploy a sample web application on that, and we'll run it. Okay. So let us jump into the Visual Studio. Okay. What I'm doing, I'm going to create a new project here. Okay, so I'll select this one first template. ASP.NET Core Web API Razor pages, Razor engine with we will create a web application itself. We can develop any API project also. Okay, all the options we have, but for simplicity, we are selecting this template. ASP.NET Core Web App Razor. In the recent project template is visible, but you can find from here also on this list itself. Okay, ASP.NET Core Web App Razor pages. Okay. It is in C#, Linux, Mac OS, all in all the OS it is supported. Okay, so let us move next. Let me give it a name, demo site. Okay, this is my project name, demo site, Elastic Beanstalk, and I'm going to store this in a new folder here. So this will be my project location. All the option will be as it is. Let's move next. Okay, so the runtime will be .NET 8 itself. Authentication type, none as of now. Configuration for HTTPS, that is fine. Okay, and let's just create it. I'm not using Docker environment as of now. Okay, so let us create it now. Okay, so yeah, this project is ready. Let me, it has a index page itself. Okay, so let me run it. Okay, so that's the index page of my sample demo application, demo site, Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, and this welcome message. Okay, what we have to do, we have to deploy this application to Elastic Beanstalk itself. Okay, so we have an option here, publish to AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, in order to enable this option, what you have to do, you have to install AWS extension. Okay, so if you will watch my video that AWS Lambda, there I have explained how to install this extension and authenticate your ID, Visual Studio ID. okay, with with your AWS credential itself. Okay, so I have already installed this AWS extension. This is the name of the extension, AWS Toolkit with Amazon Q, that you have to install this extension in your Visual Studio, and you have to authenticate this extension with your AWS credential itself. Okay, with your IAM credential. Okay, so with IAM credential, I have connected my environment to AWS itself. Okay, so that is the reason that I'm getting these options like publish to AWS or publish to AWS Elastic Beans type. Okay, so what I will do, I will just select and I will publish this to Elastic Beanstalk. This is my profile, which is already configured with AWS. I'm deploying this application with Asia Pacific Mumbai. I'm selecting the region. Okay, and there is one environment I already have created on my AWS account, that is Cloud Fundage environment. So I'll not deploying to that one. Instead, I'm going to create a new one. Okay. If you want to redeploy the same application to the same environment, then you need to select that option. But in this video, we are not going to, we are going to create a fresh environment itself. Okay. Complete new environment. So create a new application environment, that option you have to select. Okay. Move next. So our application name is demo site Elastic Beanstalk. Environment, we need to select an environment here. Let day of test or production. Let me select it for the day itself. Okay. So yeah, this will be the name of the URL automatically. You can check availability itself. This is available, or you can specify your some sample name also here. Okay, as per your choice. But subject to it should be available. Okay, so you should check, do the check availability before moving forward. Okay, so for now I'm just keeping the same itself, which is auto generated. Let's move next. Okay, so instance type, that is T3, medium, or some smallest one we can select. So this is the type of instance which will be configured in the background with this environment. So let it be default one, what it has been selected here as of now. I have a key pair already created that can be used to connect that instance, EC2 instance from the remote desktop itself. So that will be auto, let it be as it is, that is automatically picked up. And yeah, all the options are just keep as it is. Move next. Okay, one important thing, if the key pair is not ready here, you should specify a key pair here. Okay, so it will create a key pair. You can download that later on. Okay. In order to connect the remote desktop to that machine itself, which is being configured for this environment. So we are going to create a 64-bit Amazon Linux 2 environment on .NET Core. Even you can select a Windows also. If you want to deploy on Windows, you can have the option here. Okay, so we will select it on the, we'll keep it as it is, the Linux itself, what is been selected. Okay, so let me move next. Okay, so it is the role that is having created. Okay, so on AWS console, if you will go, it is an existing role itself. Okay, and this role has already this kind of permissions, all those three permissions that we discussed, all the required permissions it have. Okay, if not, it will be created automatically on the AWS console, a fresh role itself. Okay, let us move next. Okay, next, let us review all the configurations and deploy. Deployment is going on. It will take few minutes. Let's wait. You can see it is moving on 10%, 20%, 30%. Okay, so it is on the go. Okay, environment update initiated. So it is updating the environment itself. We can see the log also here on this console itself, right? Create environment is starting. Create security group. Okay, the machine which is configured. Okay, what AWS we already discussed, right? What we are doing, we are just deploying, simply deploying our application to AWS Elastic Beans. But in the background, it is doing all the stuff like creating the EC2 instance, assigning the public IP to that instance itself. Okay, configuring the security group, allowing some rules itself, like inbound, outbound rules for the HTTP port or HTTPS port itself. Okay, all those rules it is applying, and within the security group itself, so that it is the environment is accessible through the browser from the outside world. Okay, it is also configuring the S3 bucket where it will deploy our code. Okay, so all those steps it is doing in the background itself. So this environment is still starting up. So parallelly, if we go on the our AWS console, okay, just search for Elastic Beans here, Elastic Beanstalk. We can see this environment is still being configured. Demo site Elastic Beanstalk dev. Okay, it is still gray, so it's not completely up and running. It is still in the process. Okay, it's green now. Okay, so if you will see here, yeah, waiting for EC2 instance to launch. This may take a few minutes. Created Elastic IP address. This is the Elastic public IP address that is assigned. Elastic IP address, which is static in nature, that is assigned to the EC2 instance. Okay, where our this application code and or the application has been installed itself, deployed. Okay, so let me go into the, yeah. So this environment is up. Okay, and I'll show you when you'll go on this EC2 instance itself. We can see a virtual machine. Previously, there was one virtual machine that is sold by existing environment itself, but another VM it is created for this new application that we have just now deployed. It is still being initialized. So, okay, it's completed. Okay, 3x3 check pass. So this is the instance. It has been created in the background. This is the IP 13.200. Okay, public IP 100.74 that we can verify here. 13.200, 100.74. Okay, so this EC2 machine is been also configured. Okay, and the security group it might have created for that, the new security group also. Okay, so I think this is the security group for this. No, that's not that. This one, demo site Elastic Beans Talk Dev. Okay, this is the security group. We can see it already have allowed, okay, to inbound role for port 80 and port 22, since it is the Linux machine itself. Okay, so in order to SSH to the machine, it is allowing the port 22 SSH port itself. Okay, and for browsing the application on the browser, it is allowing port 80. Okay, so we can see that it has all the resources it is already managing in the background, the required resources, required security groups, required rules. Okay, all it is doing in the background itself. And we can see that on such S3, it might have deployed our code also, maybe. So let us see that. Okay, so this is the Elastic Beanstalk AP South one. Yeah, this is the folder it is created for our code base that we have deployed on S3. Okay, so all these steps it is doing, all the environment setup it is doing on itself. Okay, so let us go on our Elastic Beans console. Click on our application that is created. Okay, and this is all the logs we can find here. What it has done. Okay, successfully launched environment demo Elastic Beanstalk. Okay, first of all, it is still starting environment. All the steps it is doing. Okay, and Health status is green. This is the environment ID. Okay, it is running on .NET Amazon Linux environment. Okay, and this is the version. This is the application name, and this is the URL. Okay, so we can copy this URL. You will see on the browser. Yeah, congratulations. So we have completed this demonstration. This is a sample application that we developed in .NET Visual Studio, and we have deployed that on ElasticBeansTalk itself. Okay, this is the temporary URL. Further, you can bind this URL to your actual domain, your actual business domain also. Okay, so that is another process. That is the part of Route 53, and we need to create a hosted zone. We need to map the name server. We need to add some records itself, the domain records. Okay, all that data, the process, that is the different process that we will see later on separate video. So that was the part of the demonstration about AWS Elastic Beans. Okay, so yeah, that was all about this. Okay, about AWS Elastic Beans itself. I hope you like this video, guys. If you like and prefer this video, if you find the session informative, I would request please like my video and subscribe to my channel so that all notifications of all coming further videos will be automatically delivered to you. And this is also required for motivating the team. Okay, it really motivates us, encourages us to create more such interesting videos for you, for the community, and for my developer friends. Okay, thank you very much. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay connected. Thank you.